You are listening to the Strange Oddities Podcast on the KGRA Radio Network. Please visit their website, kgraradio.com. You are listening to the Strange Oddities Podcast, which rebroadcast on the KGRA Radio at 2 a.m. Eastern Time, 11 p.m. Pacific Time.
And please welcome your host of Strange Oddities Podcast, Matthew J. Haas.
All right, everybody. Welcome to the Strange Oddities Podcast tonight. I'm excited. I'm your host, Matthew J. Haas. As always, we try to bring exciting guests every week. You just never know who might drop in and show up on the Strange Oddities Podcast. So tonight we have a really awesome, amazing guest that we're going to bring on in a little bit. I'm going to introduce him in a couple of seconds. But as always, guys, I can't listen to the show live as we are live, because otherwise you're going to get some bad audio and really bad reverb in the background. Let us know how the show's going quality-wise. If we have any bad video, audio, give us some feedback if you guys so kindly do that. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel. Go to our YouTube channel main page, click that little bell at the top right of the screen, and you can comment during the show, ask questions for the host or guest. We try to, answer everybody's questions as best we can. We're multi-casting on Facebook and on YouTube, and also on the KGRA radio station on Friday nights, 2 a.m. in the morning, but 11 p.m. Pacific time for those on the West Coast. So I'm real excited, guys, to introduce this gentleman as our guest on the Strange Oddities Podcast. Everybody is very familiar with this gentleman. I have a lot of respect for him, the way he his style, his research, his work that he does on this widely recognized TV show called The Dead File. All right. He's an retired New York City PD homicide detective. I have a lot of respect for that with him. And I want to go ahead and bring Mr. Steve Di Schiavi on to the Strange Oddities Podcast. Steve Di Schiavi is here with us live on the Strange Oddities Podcast. Steve, welcome to the podcast. Thanks for coming on for tonight's show.
Well, thanks, Mackie, for having me. Yeah, it's weird seeing myself on these things.
Yeah. It's like podcasts these days are very interactive. Everything's video streaming online. Everything's virtual with the whole pandemic thing that's going on.
Yeah.
And, it's cool. We're having fun with it. We're gonna have fun. Guys, we have Steve Di Schiavi. Again, Steve, we're gonna have a lot to talk about. We're gonna have a lot of fun with this interview tonight. I don't know where to begin. The Dead Files has been going on for I think 6-7 seasons now.
No, we're in our 13th season of filming.
13 seasons. No, I was way off. Wow. I can't believe it's been that long. My wife and I met Amy Allen a few years back. Many years back when the show was first going up at Lake George. She was doing an event there, and it was really great hearing her lecture and speak and everything. And
I was actually at that event.
Oh, okay. Yeah. We were watching you guys talk, and it was a lot of fun watching you guys, and we became big fans of the show. And I love the way you research. I love your style of investigating. You bring your skill from when you were a PD officer and homicide detective into the show, so to speak. How did you you just tell our viewers and listeners a little bit about how you got onto the show? What made you say, "Yeah, I want to do the Dead Files," and I think this is a good idea?
And that's not how it happened. I was. It's a long story, but I'll try to make it brief. It was I was on a documentary for ABC News, and it was called NYPD 24/7, and I was the featured detective in the first episode. And the guy that created Dead Files, Jim Casey, was pitching a show to a Discovery Network executive on a private investigator, nothing to do with the paranormal. And he saw the documentary and said, "Listen, I just saw this guy in a documentary that would be great for television. Why don't you reach out and see if he'd be interested? Because your concept sounds pretty good for this PI thing, obviously." He reached out. I thought it was a joke, but he reached out. This is back in 2008. 2009, he gives me, 2008, we did a couple of pilots and nothing sold. It was, I'm too New York, I'm, too heavy, too short, whatever the case was. They didn't like, it was too rough around the edges. So I said, yeah, well, whatever. I was already retired and working full time anyway.
Right.
And he calls me up, like early 2009 about this paranormal show. I'm like, you out of your mind? I'm not doing a paranormal show. You're crazy. So then we started talking about the concept, and I'm like, all right. So 2009, the summer of 2009, I flew out to Denver and we did the pilot, or the teaser, whatever they call it, sizzle, they call it.
Sizzle reel, yeah.
Yeah. And a year later, I get a phone call. Travel Channel's interested in the show. I'm like, what show? What are you talking about? We did like four pilots together. What show are we talking about? It says the Dead Files. I'm like, okay. Why would the Travel Channel be interested in that? Because I didn't know that they had already had Ghost Adventures on, and so I was, and I don't watch ghost shows, and I don't watch myself, let alone somebody else's ghost show. So, next thing I know, he's like, we're going to start filming. They're picking us up for 8 episodes. And November of 2010, we filmed our first episode. Nice. And we rolled over into 2011 where we completed it, and we went on air in September of 2011. So September 23rd, this month, it'll be 9 years we're on air. And then I never thought about I'd still be sitting here talking to somebody about being on the show.
Right.
9 years later.
9 years later. Wow.
But the concept works. I don't buy into the whole, I do believe in the paranormal. And this is a big thing with my fans. They're like, oh, I guess you didn't believe before, now you do. I never said that. They put words in my mouth.
Right.
I've always believed in paranormal. Not to the extent that people are into it. I always believe that there's got to be something going on.
Right.
There's something. Can't just be, this, and then you die and then you're done.
Sure. You're so more like a skeptical believer, kind of.
Open-minded skeptic, basically,
right.
Is what I am. And I still am to this day. I'm more skeptical of people than I am of the paranormal.
Sure.
It's them that I don't believe over, paranormal. But
right.
And that's how I got on the show. It's just me being on a documentary. I was forced by the NYPD to do because I didn't want to do it.
Oh, wow.
So it's funny how things happen, right?
Sure. Things happen for a reason. You never, we don't know what those reasons are. Right. They just happen, and then there you go. That's where you end up.
That was the short version, but.
No, I hear you. Yeah. I mean, like I said to Steve before we started, this podcast is only an hour long, and having a guest such as Steve on the show, we could probably go on for like 3 or 4 hours in a really good interview, but we only have an hour, so we can only ask like really important questions. So we try to cut it down just a little bit. But later on, if you don't mind, Steve, we have a chat room going along with the show. I try to give a few people a chance to answer some, to get some questions in there.
Sure.
Later on, if you don't mind. So I'm sure there's people in there that like to ask a couple of questions. When one of the questions, which I'm sure you get asked quite a bit, and I have to ask this question because I'm curious myself, when Amy tells your clients or people when you are at the reveal, how is your initial reaction when she says they have to move? Because I can't imagine how awkward or how tough that decision it must be for not only her, but for, the homeowners, like when they tell them, I don't think it's a good idea that you stay there.
Well, that's the last thing she wants to tell a client.
Sure.
In her defense, she does not want to tell a client, you got to get out of here. Who the hell wants to move? But sometimes she gets radical and she's like, yeah, the whole neighborhood's got to get out of here. This place is unsafe.
Mm-hmm.
Unrealistic stuff. But some people just cannot afford to move.
Yeah.
It's whatever the case, monetary reason it is, but she doesn't want to tell people they got to move. And,
right.
And I always tell clients, listen, there's no guarantee she's going to see anything when we start our investigation. There's no guarantee she's not going to tell you need to move. So prepare yourself. She doesn't see anything, or you're going to have to move. So you prepare yourself for that. And we sit down and we have a good grasp on what's going on in the house, and then she's got to, what to do. Then we'll, that's the way we want it to be. I don't want to give them high hopes.
Right. False positives. Yeah. But
my girlfriend's texting me. I apologize.
That's okay.
It's funny. She thinks I look hot.
Yeah. Well, you are hot.
I'm hot because I'm in Florida. That's why I'm hot.
There you go. So, well, yeah, like for me, like I'm a paranormal investigator, and I never want to be in that situation where I tell people, you may or may not want to be there anymore because of what's going on. If there's stuff that we, there's things that are out of our control that we can't solve for you. So we try to put it in the homeowners hands, so to speak, to this is up to you guys what you want to do, and then but what's your initial reaction like when Amy turns around and says, I think it's a good idea for you not to stay? Like what's your thoughts?
After listening to them, and we don't take cases now unless they're really severe, obviously.
Right.
All the physical interactions, what's going on, and whatever health issues is happening. I mean, I don't blame everything on the paranormal. People arguing, we just argue. We never argued before, and I'm like, yeah, that's bullshit. Married couples argue,
Sure, that's marriage.
Yeah, but they blame everything on the paranormal.
Sure.
But that being said, when she says they got to move, I get a crushed feeling of, damn, I was really pulling for these people. I wanted them to have an answer.
Mm-hmm.
We just did an episode for this season. I can't say where it was or what the circumstances were, but a beautiful home too. And they were so stressed out by what was going on. They were like, well, she says we got to go. We're leaving. There's not, we already made that decision, which is a good thing. And sure enough, it was one of those cases where she says, you can't fix this. You got to go. So,
right.
But I felt okay with that one because they already said to themselves, if that's the case, then we're out of here.
Right. They were already kind of decided at that point.
Right.
And then, every family situation is different. Some people can afford to do it. Some people can't, so, but I'm kind of glad that it's just the way you word things. I really appreciate and admire how you guys handle, their emotions when, because let's face it, there's another question I have. People get so emotional when you guys explain things to them at the reveal, and they're like, they can't believe the things they're hearing. And it's like, what's your reaction when it comes to people's emotions and how they respond to what you guys, explain to them?
Well, you got to understand something. I was a cop for 22 years in New York City.
Right.
Dealing with crime victims and families of people who have been murdered or killed in accidents. I've seen the worst and dealt with the worst when it comes to people's emotions. Compare a notification to a mother that their 12-year-old son just got shot in the head on St. Nicholas Avenue in Harlem.
Yeah. Terrible.
And then people getting upset because they got paranormal. There's no comparison.
Sure. No.
So for me, I hate seeing people, no matter what the situation is, stressing out about stuff and being upset about it. But I'm so used to dealing with grievance, I should say, people grieving.
Yeah.
That, I deal with it. I handle it. I show empathy the same way I did when I was on the street.
Mm.
So for me, it's nothing new, but it's nowhere near the level I was used to dealing with at all. Not
Right.
even close to it.
Right.
So
Wow.
So it's easier for me. It's easier for me to handle it.
Sure. Have you guys ever had anything happen during your initial interview, like when you're sitting down with somebody? Did anything that stood out that were like, oh, maybe there's something is paranormal going on, like while you were interviewing somebody?
A couple of the crew members have had some what they think was experiences, but while I've been there personally, nothing's ever happened. I was outside of a house one time when he was yelling, and I ran in, and the woman's daughter got scratched. But I mean, I didn't see it happen. I heard her screaming, but nothing has ever happened. I've never had an experience ever in my entire life. I still haven't had one. I've been told by several mediums that I probably never will, because one medium called me a diffuser for the paranormal, where paranormal just kind of leaves the room when I walk in. And you know how people are called sensitives?
Right.
Somebody called me an insensitive.
Oh no!
Yeah.
Wow, that's insulting.
Yeah, a little bit, right?
Wow.
And they didn't mean it that way. They meant that
Right.
You have sensitivity for other things. I have street sense.
Right.
My ears perk up on the street.
Yeah.
I can walk into a bar and know something's not right.
Right.
Somebody coming up on me on the street, I know something. We're gonna throw down, but
yeah. So
I'm not hearing or seeing anything.
Right. So in a way, like, if I could put it bluntly, like your bullshit meter is a little bit better than most people, because you know how to read people very well.
Yeah. And that's from growing up on the streets of Brooklyn too. I mean, my upbringing on the streets was very similar. You had to have a good sense if people were messing with you or not. So
Sure.
That plus going into the police department. I was in the Marine Corps for 3 years, and I went into the police department. But all that life experience comes into play. Right.
How do you guys feel? And yourself. I'm sure you run into many paranormal investigators as fans run up to you, during paranormal events or, whatever conferences or things you do outside the show. When you hear about paranormal investigators that investigate private homes, you kind of agree with, investigators doing private homes, or because there's some people who are on the fence with it. There's some people who think we maybe have an obligation to help them because of our experience with the paranormal. But, what do you feel about the whole private home investigation thing?
Well, I can't answer for Amy. I mean, she has her own opinions about that. Me, I don't have a vested interest either way. My issue is when a paranormal team takes advantage of somebody and takes money from them, and then, oh yeah, you got spirits here. Give me your money. Goodbye. Leave them hanging.
Yeah.
That's why I have the issue. It's more of a moral thing than anything else. But if people want to investigate people's homes, why not? And if you got the experience that you might be able to help them out, not everybody can have Amy and me show up at their house, right?
Yeah.
Obviously.
Right.
So there has to be somebody out there that can help them.
Right. Yeah. I noticed that. I mean, you've kind of always done it, but there are some episodes where you haven't done it. But would you like to bring in more outside contractors to kind of investigate some of the claims that people bring you? I know that you brought in plumbers and you brought in rodent people to come in to see if there's rodents in people's houses, and,
right?
Stuff like that. So I've noticed you started doing that a lot more lately, and I think that's awesome. To try to rule those things out.
Well, actually, we've done it a lot. A lot of it's been edited out of the show.
Okay.
I've been doing it since day one.
Right.
You name it. If I think it there's a cause for it.
Yeah.
I don't normally just say, all right, they're hearing stuff in the wall. Let's get an exterminator in here. I don't always say that.
Right.
It depends. There's variables. I live over here on a canal of water, and there's nobody on either side of me. It's just bushes out here.
Mm-hmm.
So if I got something crawling around my attic, there's a good chance it's going to be something from outside. But if
Right.
I live in the inner city, or if I live in an area that doesn't have a lot of wildlife around it, then why would you waste time doing that? So it depends on what the problem is.
Right. So, and then
as far as bringing somebody else in, any other type of, I would never bring in another medium. Obviously, I got the best out there.
Sure, yeah, that's why I have Amy,
and I can handle all the investigative part. I don't need anybody's help on that. I do need help getting some information. Obviously, it doesn't pop in your head.
Right.
But I employ people to try to, help me out with this. What can you find out about this thing?
Right. Yeah. Well, I didn't mean that, just so you know, I didn't mean that question to, take the, your abilities away from your.
Oh, no. I didn't take it that way at all. But I'm just saying, I wouldn't bring anybody else. Other than, like you said, I'll get a plumber in, I'll get an exterminator.
Right.
Stuff like that.
Right. Yeah. Our team kind of use like critical thinking kind of stuff when we investigate, and that's why I admire the way you investigate, because kind of similarity in the way we investigate. We try to debunk. We try to rule out everything we best we can, and we try to help people cope with things, because in a way you deal with a lot of psychology kind of thing, because people are scared and they don't know what's going on, and that's why they're bringing you in, from a psychology standpoint, because like your background comes in handy with that kind of stuff, and I appreciate the way you handle people on the show as far as that goes.
No, I appreciate that. I mean, it's people think you can just walk into somebody's house and start talking to them, and
oh no,
you got to have a certain set level of people skills. Number one,
yeah,
and in the business I'm in, you have to be empathetic. I mean, there's plenty of cops out there that are not empathetic, and those guys never wind up going anywhere in their careers. But you got to be empathetic, right? You got to have compassion, common sense, and empathy. That's it, and then you're good.
Yeah, pretty simple.
Those three things will get you by.
Right. Yeah, totally. We do have a question in the chat. I don't want to miss it. That's a interesting question. What percentage of the clients do you think have nothing going on and just want to be on TV? Which I'm sure, like I said, you have that really good bullshit meter thing going on because of your experience.
Well, we vet very well. It takes a few months of us of vetting before we decide to do a case.
Right.
Did any slip through the cracks? I'm sure there has.
Right.
But didn't mean they didn't have a paranormal problem.
Right.
I'm not going to be specific about things. Like, let's say when a business calls us.
Mm-hmm.
I always think right away, all right, they're trying to boost their business or something's up. But then when you do the vetting and you realize it's a family-owned business, they've had it for years and they're afraid of losing customers. People are quitting on them. Then it's a different story. But yeah, I mean, I'm sure there has been quite a few people that have maybe embellished on the stuff they talk about that's happening. And I've caught people in, I call them little white lies.
Right. Yeah.
But listen, it's their house. You want to lie to me, I don't know why you would, but it makes no sense.
Sure, because it's their house, right? That's where you live. It's your problems that you're bringing to me.
Well, the thing is that we're already here. We decided to take the case, so obviously you don't need to embellish anymore once I'm there.
Right.
Like I won't mention the case, but a woman's telling me, I was able to see this thing in the hallway. And I'm like, oh, really? And by the way, what side of the bed you sleep on? She was, that side. And this was after this is a couple minutes later. I said, well, how is it possible you saw that from that side of the bed? I can't see it from that side.
Right.
Were you leaning over? Were you, you're doing you have an extra long neck I'm not aware of? So it's little things like that.
Right.
That get me annoyed.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
that gets edited from the show, obviously, because my annoyance could be seen pretty well.
Yeah. Yeah. Right. And then, not only that, you're filming and it's going on camera, I'm sure they can edit those things out, if you request.
Well, she danced around it and was like, well, I was sleeping on that side that night. Like,
yeah.
So you and your husband just switch sides. I've been sleeping on the same damn side of my bed. I'm 57, probably 52 years.
Yeah. Right.
So I just,
Yeah. I always caution private residences for my own personal reasons because you just don't know what the real agenda of the homeowner is. And you got to be real careful because they may tell you one thing, and unless you're really good at reading people, like you're going to find out the hard way after you finish, what that reason was really why they brought you there in the first place.
Well, you got a lot of psychopaths too.
Yeah.
And when you talk to people on the phone, you really can't get a clear picture until you talk to them a few times.
Yeah.
I've canceled a lot of. I've told my producers after talking to certain clients, I'm like, we're not doing this case. She's a psychopath. We're not going.
Yeah.
She has legitimate mental issues, or he's got legitimate mental issues.
Yeah.
That it have nothing to do with the paranormal, and that's
Right.
I doubt there's really everything they're saying going on. I think that's going on.
Right. Now, do you guys get cases like from the production company and they hand them to you to review, or do you get them first? Or
no, we have now, because early on it was different, but we have an intake we have a website, Help Me Dead Files, and there's a whole thing to submit your case, with your names and everything like that, and then we have an intake team because we have 8,000 submissions.
Yeah, I couldn't imagine how many you get.
I can't go through that. So we have an intake team that does that, and they bring it to the producer, the associate producer. It kind of works its way up. And then it gets to the showrunner, and the showrunner contacts me, and we discuss it. And then, all right, I'm like, right, let's pull a chain of title. Let's see what's going on and take it from there.
Yeah. And like you said, like I'm sure you take on the most severe cases or the most sincere, who's really.
Well, anytime there's kids involved,
oh, sure.
Priority for me. And anytime there's elderly or anybody that's mental impairment.
Yeah.
So for me, that's a priority. And that's why you'll see a lot of our shows have kids in them, because I'm like, listen, there's kids in a home.
Yeah.
We got to take care of it. So if there's elderly people that are being abused by whatever's going on,
right.
Stuff like that.
Yeah. Have you ever been put in a situation to like be put in the middle of like a marriage or a couple because one side believed and one didn't? And
all the time. Mostly husbands. A lot of times husbands don't believe them, and then I'll call them out on it.
Yeah.
Well, most of the guys, they know I'm going to call them out. They get the hint that I'm not here to play a game. So most of them are like, listen, I had never had an experience. I don't know what she's going through, but I guess maybe something's going on. You're here. That kind of attitude. Right. And then you'll get Amy coming in and verifying everything that the client said. And then, usually the wife would be screaming, "Didn't I tell you we had stuff going on?" Yeah.
Like, she's probably like, yeah, she's verifying everything for me right here. And then, I've been telling you this for how many years.
Yeah.
So
it's gotta be frustrating, and that's why when I say, "Oh, our tempers are flaring," and I think it's whatever's in the house, I'm like,
right?
No, your husband's an asshole, and this is the reason that you guys are arguing all the time. So
right, yeah.
But it's few and far between though. Most of the time when we get to lately, last 4 or 5 years, it's been a lot of the husband's on board. He's supportive of the wife, so that's a good thing.
Yeah, sure. Now the remedies that you guys, give them toward the end of the investigation, which I guess, some of it or more so comes from Amy, but do they, kind of accept what you give them at first, or do a lot of them, listen to your remedies to kind of, solve their problems, so to speak, or do they?
Yeah. I mean, all those remedies come from Amy. I have nothing at all to do with trying to fix anything paranormal.
Okay.
And I get questions on a daily basis on private message and social media about, I got to shout. I'm the wrong guy to answer these questions. I don't know. I know about it now working with Amy, but I'm not an expert on it.
Right.
You want to know how to find an address? You want to find some person? I can help you out. But as far as anything to do with the paranormal, I never give anything about it. That's all on Amy.
Right.
And I find that the clients are more than grateful that she's got a remedy. So,
right.
But at the end of every case, I always ask them at the reveal table, "You're going to take Amy's advice?" And 99.9999% say, "Absolutely, Steve." And how many actually do? Maybe 40%.
Right.
And people get pissed. They're like, "Oh, wow, this is terrible. Aren't you upset about it?" I'm like, I ain't got to live there.
Right.
I ain't got to live there. So, what do I care?
Yeah.
We know what's wrong. It's like, listen, you got cancer. You can have chemotherapy. Well, I'm not taking it. All right. That's on you. You're the one with cancer, not me.
Yeah. I like the ones that get up in the middle of the reveal, like get pissed and they get up and walk out, and then, like they got to walk away a few minutes, and, and then they come back, then, they're like staring at them like,
yeah. So it's awkward. Let's put it that way. It's an awkward situation at the table.
Right.
But, they're not getting up because they're upset.
Yeah.
Mostly, I had one guy who was in the army. He was in, and he's like, well, he was out of the army, and he's like, I'm going to take an M16. I'm like, bro, you're talking about the supernatural here. What are you going to do with your gun?
Yeah, right.
You know, be a tough guy in the street. Don't be a tough guy at home where you can't shoot anything here.
Yeah.
And he's one of those guys that got up and walked away.
Nice. So, well, you said you're kind of a skeptical, paranormal, like skeptical believer. You're open-minded skeptic. Right. What would happen if you had a paranormal experience that changed you? Like what would it take, like, for you to have that different opinion?
No, I don't have a different opinion. If something paranormal happened, I know there's paranormal stuff going on.
Right.
So for me, all right, well, see, I guess my beliefs, even though I'm a skeptic, and when I say I'm a skeptic of living people.
Sure.
But I'm a skeptic of, like, people like, oh, I got thrown across the room. Everybody's got cameras today. How come where's the evidence you getting flung across the room? Show me.
Right.
I just, I don't buy into a lot of it.
Yeah.
So, but if let's say my bottle of soda right there just moved on its own, first thing I would be like, well, how did that happen? Did the ice melt? Did it slip from the water? I'd have a million things first. And if I couldn't figure it out, I'm like, oh, I guess somebody's trying to tell me something. Right. But it's never happened to me.
Yeah.
Nothing that I can't explain. I can tell you that.
Yeah.
Like I had a light go on by my bathroom, in my master bath, going into the bathroom area. There's a little hallway there. And the light went on all by itself one night. And sure enough, I took the switch apart, and it had a faulty toggle on it. So, and that's why.
Yeah.
Replaced the switch. Guess what? Never happened again.
Yeah. There you go. Nice. Have you ever gotten a case where you said to yourself, this might be something dangerous that, for you and your crew, or for yourself? Was there something that you didn't want to put yourself in a situation where you didn't want to do it? No,
I've never.
No.
I've been in 3 shootings, 9/11.
Yeah.
Not much I can't handle. I mean,
the
house doesn't. Going to a house that supposedly has paranormal activity going on. All right, let me hear your story.
Right.
If something happens, great. I guess we're in the right spot. Let's get to work. I've never. There's nothing that's ever stopped me from going to. Like Amy, she's had reservations about walking into a location because of what she's encountering.
Mm-hmm.
And on her end, listen, I get it.
Yeah.
But on my end of it, it's like I do a pragmatic investigation. There's nothing, unless you're going to take a shot at me.
Right.
I shoot back though. So.
Right. Yeah.
Nothing on that level, like the paranormal level, would ever stop me from walking into a location.
Sure.
Yeah. Unless Linda Blair showed up and started spinning her head, maybe I'd take a walk.
Yeah. Right. That'd be funny. All right. What? My next question. I hate when that happens, when you're like, you have so many questions and then it
disappears.
It disappears. So, your goal at the end of the day is to help these people try to find a solution. Has there ever been a time with a case where you haven't been able to find a solution for somebody, where it was hard to come up with some ways to help them, like with some of the claims?
No. I mean, we've so far, knock on wood somewhere, I guess my head will work. Every place we've gone, Amy's always encountered something. The only thing is, sometimes Amy has no fix for it. So that's the only issue. She's always encountered something in the house. So, as far as, what do people do about it?
Right. Right. Yeah, I hear
But
you.
we haven't had that issue. And again, it goes back to our vetting process.
Sure.
And that's important.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I totally understand. We have a really interesting question, and I'm interested in this as well. When you have the drawings, I love the expression on your face when you open up the envelope and the sketches that they come out with. Some of the sketches that they do are like really crazy when I see some of these sketches, and I love your expression. Do they make a difference as far as when you present? There's a question from Anthony Simonelli. Do they make a difference, I guess, when you show the sketches?
Well, if I see a sketch that I know is going to upset them, because maybe it's a sketch of the woman that lives there being mauled by some demon,
right?
Then for me, it's like, listen, this is going to upset you, but I have to show it to you anyway,
right?
And like that. Or
right.
I'm like, well, I don't even know what the hell this is. Here, take a look.
Yeah.
You tell me what you think it is.
Like I said, some of the expressions on your face are like, you're like, I don't know if you want to see this, but here you go.
Right.
But
it's my job to show it to you. But then sometimes it's severely upsetting. I'll just turn the sketch over on the table. This way I don't stare at it.
Right. So if you guys are tuning in late, I just want to say to our listeners and viewers once again, I have the privilege and honor of having Mr. Steve Di Schiavi on as a guest on the Strange Oddities podcast from the Dead Files, widely recognized paranormal TV show on the Travel Channel. I believe you had said earlier you're working on 16 seasons?
13.
13, okay.
We're filming our 13th season now.
Okay, wow. Can't believe it. How many years have gone by?
Yeah, we're hitting the 200 episode mark soon, too. Or we might have, and I just don't remember.
Right. So if anybody has questions in the chat room, I'll try to, relay them as best I can. There's actually a lot of people in the chat, so that's why I'm like trying to multitask here.
Yeah, I don't know how you do it. I've been on those live Facebook feeds sometimes.
Yeah.
And people will the questions just go up like a ticker tape, and then and they have like long drawn out questions. I got a half a second to read it. I mean, it's not going to work.
Yeah. No, you have to like just keep your eye on everything, and it's just like you might see me like turn this way or that way, and I'm trying to keep up the best I can, guys. So
well, God bless you. Better you than me, I can tell you.
Yep. Well, I have one question here. Do you find that the most of the families who live where you investigate have some sort of prior trauma, a family problem, etc., that is hidden in their past?
We've had a few of those where there was some PTSD issues from a rape, let's say, or an accident that really changed their life. Where they weren't the same person again.
Right.
There's been a few of those,
yeah.
And that seems to Amy will always say, the paranormal, the shitty paranormal issues are they frown, they prey on the weak.
Right.
So if you're in a weakened physical state or a mental state, you're a good target for them.
Right.
I'm such a bullheaded, Brooklyn Italian that's probably why they stay away from me.
They don't want to mess with Steve.
No, I mean, I'm too stubborn for most of it.
Yeah, I hear you. Is there any case that you took kind of personal to you that like kind of hit home, like hit hard, like where you kind of felt like really torn by what was going on or how it was treating a certain family? Or
that's a good question. I had one case in Brown Summit, North Carolina or Georgia. I think it was in Georgia, Brown Summit, Georgia. And they had a daughter who was, I think at the time was 20, 21 years old, but she was mentally incapacitated and basically bedridden. She's had all kinds of surgeries. And that case broke my heart because this young girl would scream and sob all day long, and then was screaming to the paranormal, leave my family alone, take me, bother me, and it was just heartbreaking to hear that.
Yeah.
I mean, she would wail all day long. I mean, it was the sobbing. And I'm like, I don't know how this family, first of all, I don't know how this kid is dealing with this. I don't know how the family is dealing and it was such a nice family too. I mean, just real down to earth, salt of the earth type of people, and stuff like that gets to me.
Yeah, I can't imagine, because again, you get like over 8,000 submissions and all these letters and cases that you guys get, and the ones that make TV, like some of the emotional ones that I see that are just like outburst crying and just laying it out all on the table with you guys. I just like it's emotional.
Yeah. And you know what? You gotta understand something. I spend a lot of time with these people.
Yeah.
Amy only meets them for a couple hours in one night. She never sees them beforehand or even talks to them.
Right.
So I have a kind of like, it's like you get friendly with them.
And you get to know them.
And it's hard to, when she says things like, you got to leave your house. And I know they love that house. They don't want to move. That breaks my heart for them.
Sure.
It really does.
Yeah.
I mean, you got to be no soul if that doesn't bother you,
Right.
But it could get tough sometimes.
Yeah, no, totally. Another question from Ganyak Paranormal: has your involvement in the paranormal been influential in the law enforcement field? Open minds more? Did it open minds more? Question mark.
As for like cops now, or when I was on the job? Because when I was on a job, I did work with a psychic twice. And
Okay.
It took me nowhere on the homicide cases I had. But you couldn't tell anybody you did that, or you couldn't tell, because nothing's admissible in court.
Yeah.
But we did find early on that we had a hard time when I reached out to cops or police agencies to try to get some information on a case, an old case, and they shut the door in our faces. But since the show's been so popular and we tell them, listen, watch the show.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes you'll get, oh no, we love that show. Yeah, we'd love to be interviewed by Steve. So it's open doors that way. And I think these guys just, I think today the guys are a lot more open-minded.
Yeah.
When I was on the job, it was a little bit different. I mean, I'm retired almost 15 years. So I'm going back to the 84 when I started. So,
wow. Yeah.
Things were different then.
Sure.
You told your boss, yeah, I'm going to get a psychic to help me out with this case.
Yeah.
He'd be like, yeah, guess what? You're getting transferred too. Get the hell out.
Yeah. Or you're getting a psychic,
exactly.
Psychic evaluation.
But you know what? When you need a break on a case, you do whatever you have to do.
Right.
And I had a case where all 3 corrections officers got killed working a club, a security, and I needed a break real bad. And I did whatever I had to do. And I went to a psychic. Well, a psychic reached out to me on something else. I said, well, listen, I got this other case I'm working on. Maybe you can help me out with this one.
Right.
But neither way, anytime I've used one psychic actually took me in a totally different direction. And when we finally solved the case, I'm like, this person has got to stop telling people they're psychic because, something's not right.
Right.
You got nothing right about this case at all.
Yeah. Have you, other than like Intuitive April, what other psychics or people with gifts or abilities other than Amy, have you like been wowed by? Is there anybody that you were like, oh, wow.
I'm friends with Kim Russo.
Okay.
And I don't know if anybody's familiar with her.
We're actually friends with her too.
Yeah, she's fantastic. And she's pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
She doesn't have that dark side like Amy. Everything Amy sees is pretty dark.
Right.
But she is a talented, I guess sensitive, you want to call him, sure. Psychic. She's pretty good. Yeah.
But my wife and I know her because we had an attachment that we brought home with us from an investigation, and we were investigators looking at one another. We are always helping other people. How do we help ourselves in our own situation? Yeah. And we were like, we didn't know what to do. I reached out to so many other paranormal teams in the area that were more experienced in this kind of thing. And we were like, didn't know who to reach out to. And I came across Kim Russo.
Oh,
and
you did?
Yeah. And this was like before her show took off. And, she's like, I can't get to you right away right now because I'm busy filming, but I know somebody, locally that can come out quicker than I can and help you out. And, this is what I can do for you. And that's how we connected with her. And yeah, that's how we came across.
Yeah. Whenever I've only been with her a couple of times, but her husband's great. He's just like me. He's a regular guy.
Oh yeah,
Italian guy from New York. So it was just. But we do. Yeah, she's a very sweet woman too.
Yeah. Another great question. Has there any been episodes that were filmed that didn't make the air, and how come?
That's a good question. And the answer is no.
Wow.
We've never had a case where Amy didn't see something.
Mm.
So, and again, I go back to the vetting and making sure that we have a legitimate paranormal problem, what we think is a legitimate paranormal problem.
Right. Wow.
So we've been lucky that way.
Sure. Is there anything as far as what yourself personally would like to foresee yourself doing as far as the paranormal in the future, like anything on your bucket list? Like
you mean like places to investigate or something like that?
Yeah.
No, I really, for me, I have no ambition to see or go to any place that's haunted or anything like that. And we don't do those cases.
Right.
I mean, like we did, doing Alcatraz. I thought that was great. I loved that one.
I would love to go there.
Yeah, it was great. That was one of my favorite episodes to film. We did
I love
the Borden house.
Yeah.
History, stuff like that.
Right.
Maybe someplace. I don't have anything off the top of my head that I would want to go.
Right.
My idea of vacation is a beach with a drink with an umbrella in it.
Right.
Not spending time going to a haunted house. And I know people do it for vacations, which I think is great if you like it,
Right. With the way you investigate and do your research with the show now, have you thought about how it may have changed the way you did your cases as an officer or homicide detective?
Absolutely. I mean, I've had it because early on I treated cases like I would treat a homicide.
Right.
Now I have to look outside the box because of what Amy's abilities are and how she sees things.
Right.
She'll come across, and I'll come across a guy in research that was, he was a Civil War colonel, and he fought here.
Mm-hmm.
And she'll come up and say, "Was he left-handed?"
Mm-hmm.
Like, what the frick are you asking me? If he's left-handed, how am I supposed to?
Right.
So those are the kind of things I got to find out a lot more details of, like where was he from?
Right.
Where's his family from? What's the religion? These are things I wouldn't give a crap about earlier.
Right.
But because that plays a lot into her, synopsis and what she's going to do, it's like, well, if they were religious, we could get somebody in here that's the same religion.
Right.
Let's say it's a Southern Baptist, for argument's sake. Something like we need a Southern Baptist Reiki master, whatever that would be called, these people.
Right.
So, so those little details that I would have overlooked before, I haven't done in years. I get as detailed as I can.
Right.
So.
Yeah.
And that's something, like I said, that's new for me.
Yeah.
Get those type of details.
Right. Yeah. I'm the interviewer, so I have to throw out those interesting, tough questions.
That's all right.
Yeah.
It's a good question, because it really has changed. Even my questioning has changed because I have to question people in a way I would never do in a homicide case.
Yeah.
Or any investigation for that matter. And it's only because of TV.
Right.
And it's all about storytelling and bringing it to the audience in a certain way so they could follow along.
Right.
Like my thing is neo-tweak, right?
Mm-hmm.
When, where, who, why, and how.
Yeah.
That's simple.
Yeah.
Right? That's how I ask my questions.
Right.
So with the show, I got to do everything backwards.
Sure.
In my training.
Yeah.
But that's because it's TV.
Yeah.
If I walked into a haunted house and interviewing people that lived there and it wasn't on TV, believe me, I would be going right back to the way I normally question things.
Sure. I get it. Yeah, I get it. Have you ever felt with the research that you get, like when you go to a library, you go to public records, wherever you can get information to help your case and your client, how many days or how much time have you taken to actually put into reading all that information that you get from all those
most records? Of this stuff it takes about 30 days on each case.
Oh wow.
Of background research.
Mm-hmm.
And the stuff, and then we got to memorialize it on TV, obviously.
Right.
But I'll always come across something during the investigation where I'm going to need to reach out to, let's say, a genealogist or a historian to help me out. And it may look like I'm only working 2 days
Yeah,
in
yeah,
TV life, but
right.
it's a 7-day investigation. So
Yeah.
Me wearing the same clothes a couple of days in a row, but it's just part of the TV side of it.
Yeah.
But a lot goes into it.
Yeah.
Like I already know the chain of title, the deed, and by the time I get to the location, I know who's died on the property from natural causes, any murders. And now if I got to dig in deeper, it's a lot of work.
Yeah. Yeah. No. And I admire that because there are some shows, and I'm not taking anything away from those shows either, because we don't know what goes behind the scenes and how much work they're putting in versus what shows are actually editing out of the actual show. But there are some shows that we went in there one night, didn't find anything, and they didn't really show much record searching or getting information from this place or that place, as much as the extensive work that you've put in.
Right.
And you know what I'm saying? So 30 days versus 1 or 2 nights. And
yeah. Well, a lot of that's background research, but don't forget. I'll tell you. So I'll probably do anywhere from 10 to 20 interviews per case. 5 will make it to air.
Right.
I have to cover everything.
Yeah.
So we never know what she's going to see or what she's, going to come up with. So the producers need as much material that they can, it's a 42 to 44 minute show, right?
Yeah.
And we film for 80 hours a week. I film 70 hours of that 80 hours.
Right.
That's just me filming. Not
right.
80, just 70 hours. And we do 80 hours of filming. They got to cram that down into 42 to 44 minutes.
Yeah.
Not a job. That's why they get paid so well. But
right.
It's not a job I want to do. It's funny because we're getting ready to be shown in Europe. They're going to start airing our show in Europe, and they want more content now because they don't have the amount of commercials we have.
Right.
They go 50 minutes with only 10 minutes of commercials.
Nice.
So,
yeah.
Too bad. We used to be like that when I was a kid growing up, but not no more. So.
Yeah. Right. Did you ever think the show would be on all these years? So I guess
No, not in a million years.
Yeah.
We talked about this earlier before we started filming. If you would have told me in 2011 when the show aired that in 2020 I'd be doing a radio show, a podcast about being on the show, I would have bet the house on it.
Yeah.
Not in a million years would I thought it was done this far.
Yeah. No, it's been really successful, and again, both of you guys add different flavors to the show, and it works. The different spectrum of what you offer and what she does. And have there ever been moments for you where Amy just completely surprised you or blindsided you with anything?
I don't get surprised anymore. The only time I was I wouldn't say blindsided. The only time I was really shocked was early on, season 1, when she saw a kid that murdered somebody in the place we were at, and I actually interviewed him in prison. That's the kid she saw. Even though he was still alive, she saw his, I guess, essence, whatever the hell you want to call it, in the basement where this homicide took place. He beat a guy over the head with a hammer a couple of times. He killed him, obviously. Yeah. But that kind of whoa, let me get this straight. I just interviewed this kid.
That's crazy. Yeah.
Because she did a sketch, and I'm like, that's the kid I interviewed.
Oh, man.
He did a murder here.
Yeah.
But a fracture, I forget what she called it, something fractured off, and his meanness, whatever the hell it was, was there. And it was, a couple other things going on. So that was pretty. I was like, whoa, that came out of left field. Yeah. Right.
Well, like I said, an hour of the Strange Oddities podcast goes really fast. We're getting down to the bottom of the hour.
Oh, crap.
Yeah, I know. I've been throwing as many interesting questions as I can towards Steve, which I really hope I've thrown some really good questions at you.
Yeah, there's a few questions I have never heard before, so I like that.
Yeah, I try. So, all right. We have one more question in the chat. Do you find that other police officers give you more info on a case knowing that you are retired from the job?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
It opens up a lot more doors for me with police departments than if I was, Joe that's a mechanic during the day, but I investigate haunted places at night.
Yeah.
Especially I was in homicide and I know how to work the case and everything. So that does open up a lot of doors.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which is great because you need all the help you can get.
Sure. Yeah. Well, I really appreciate you being on the podcast.
I enjoyed myself. Thank you.
Yeah, no. I give all my guests an opportunity if there's a shout out that you'd like to give anybody special, toward the end of the show. Is there anybody you like to, thank, or is there any information you want to share about the show, any events, stuff like that?
Well, other than my girlfriend thanking her for coming into my life, because she just completely changed my life.
I'm happy for you.
120,000% better.
Yeah.
The crew. My crew is always hardworking crew. We've had some of the same crew members for over 150 episodes. And that says a lot for Hollywood because most guys like to move on. But I treat the crew good, and I always have fun with them. They're like my nephews, my nieces. So I like to break their chops. But they do a great job. The producers all do a great job. Discovery Channel, thank them for buying Travel Channel and keeping up. They didn't have to keep the show.
Yeah.
But they were very happy with the show. And, thank you to Discovery Network for taking care of us and, keeping us going. And, everybody that helps us. It's not an easy task. There's a lot of behind the scenes. I think there's 50 people employed just for our show on the production side.
Right.
So that's a lot of people that are being employed, and they really do a good job. So shout out to them for working hard behind the scenes.
Yeah, no, like I said, there's a lot of things that go on behind the scenes that people don't even fathom or think about, and there's a lot of people behind the scenes that do a lot of hard work. And I totally get it.
Just our travel coordinator alone, she's got, she's dealing with 14 flights and hotels and, all kind of cars and stuff like that. It's a lot of work.
Yeah. And one more quick question, because somebody wants to know, what kind of cigar are you smoking?
This is a Padron Anniversary 1964.
Nice.
They're about $25, $26 a stick, but by far my favorite cigar. And they're so expensive, I only smoke these once a week.
Nice.
I didn't know we were going to be live. So I already cut my cigar and got it lit.
Yeah.
I can't put this down. It's too expensive to lit.
Yeah, no, it's all good. It's all good. Everything strange happens on Strange Oddities Podcast, so it's all right. I'll allow it.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, but Steve, if we could say our goodbyes after the show, just hang on with me for another couple of minutes, if that's all right. I want to just publicly thank Steve Di Schiavi from the Dead File for being on our show, Strange Oddities Podcast, tonight. Guys, if you missed it, you can always catch it again on the YouTube channel. Go to our Facebook page. Go to kgra.com. It gets rebroadcasted there. I want to appreciate all the people in the chat room that asked really good questions. Just big shout out to them, and my wife, of course, Josie, who's in the chat room, who helps me moderate the chat group, during the show. So I can't forget my lovely wife for helping out. I always got to give a big shout out for her. She's my number one. I got to look out for my rock.
Yeah, good for you. Oh, just real quick.
Yeah.
I have a YouTube channel called The Adventures of Steve and Ray. It's me and my buddy, one of my best friends.
Okay.
And it'll show a lot lighter side of my personal time.
Okay.
It's some funny stuff on there. I go on Instagram. Most of the stuff we've been putting on YouTube. So if people want to see my funniest side, or my regular side when I'm not working,
right.
Go check that out.
Right. Actually, real quick, because I remember a question that my wife did have about that. Because you had something going on with a coffee maker that was really funny, that had something to relate to that. So she wanted to know, how did that pan out?
Oh, you got to go onto the YouTube channel. You'll see.
There you go.
It was pretty funny because Ray's, I hate to use the word cheap. He's frugal. And he'll hold on to crap that's 110 years old. That he had a coffee maker that took a half hour to make one cup of coffee because it was dripping. I'm like, bro, you got to get a new cup. So me and my girlfriend went over there. We videotaped me driving over there with his new coffee maker.
Nice.
And then we had 2 more videos about the coffee maker. It was pretty fun.
I had seen a little bit of it, and I didn't watch the whole thing, but now I'm going to rewatch the whole thing.
Yeah. There's a couple of this stuff from way back when we were in Costa Rica together. Some funny stuff that, we've been filming each other for years, but we just thought about And fans said, put it on YouTube so we can watch it. I'm like, all right.
Yeah. Yeah. Hey, you never know what could come out of it, man.
We ain't looking for anything out of it, but I think it's a good way for the fans to see the lighter side, and then it's
Sure.
easy to do it through there.
Yeah.
We can see all of them, you can just go through them if you want.
Yeah, absolutely, man. So, guys, thanks for tuning in tonight. I really appreciate it. Again, as always, please subscribe to the show. That little bell at the top right corner of the screen. When you go to the Strange Oddities Podcast YouTube channel, it's right there at the top. You can email me, strangeodditiespodcast@gmail.com. We do have a website, strangeodditiespodcast.wordpress.com. Next week, guys, just real quick, I have a guest, Gary Greener. He's going to be on. We're going to talk about time travel, and we're going to get into the Philadelphia experiment. If you've ever seen the movie back in the 80s, the Navy did an experiment with time travel, and these poor sailors got, all discombobulated all over the battleship, and was a really great movie with Michael Paré and,
Michael Paré, yeah.
Yeah, really good old actor there. So we're going to get into time travel, Montauk Project, and it's going to be a fun episode, so I can't wait for that. That's next week, guys. So, Steve, thanks again for being on. Yeah, the Strange Oddities Podcast. We'll say our goodbyes after I say our goodbyes tonight with our listeners. So I want to thank everybody. All right, so Steve, take care. Just hang on. Yep. Right, guys, you guys have a great night. Be well. Once again, I just want to throw out there, I want to thank all the first responders, all the essential workers, all the EMTs, all the police officers, during this pandemic and, everything going on. I want to give my utmost respect and thank you to everybody who, puts out the great service to this country. And tomorrow's 9/11, and I want to give much respect to those who experienced 9/11 and all that. So let's remember 9/11, never forget 9/11, and God bless to everybody. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and play my exit video here, guys, and I want to wish everybody a great night. Thank you for tuning in and listening to the Strange Oddities Podcast. You can listen to the rebroadcast on the KGRA radio. Check out kgraradio.com for the rebroadcast at 2 a.m. Eastern Time, 11 p.m. Pacific Time. You can catch the Strange Oddities Podcast live every week at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, 5 p.m. Pacific Time. Please follow our YouTube channel for our live weekly show at 8 p.m. If you like the show, please give us feedback. Email us at strangeodditiespodcast@gmail.com. You can also visit our website, strangeodditiespodcast.wordpress.com. Tune in every week, 8 p.m. Eastern Time on the YouTube channel. You can also look us up on Facebook. We have a Facebook page where all the news and information about upcoming guests and anything Strange Oddities Podcast is doing. Go to our Facebook page, give us a like, and give us a shout. Thanks a lot for tuning in. And again, thanks again for the KGRA for rebroadcasting the Strange Oddities Podcast.